my topic for today is funny thing happened on the way to the forum. A funny thing happened on the way to the forum, which is a movie. And a cute title, but actually it's why sometimes strange things happen after Cognomovement sessions and Cognomovement events. So it's kind of a fun topic. I was talking to my good friend Carmela Lamana, a Power of Rising Spirit who I talk to almost every day. And we were chatting about this. We have an upcoming event in Toronto, Canada, the 3-day Cogno Conscious event, including a 1-day standalone where you can come and just learn about Cogno movement for yourself and your family. And then 2 following days, full Cogno Conscious seminar. It's going to be amazing. It's the first time Cogno Conscious is coming to Canada, so that's really exciting. So if you're in Canada or nearby, come on up and see us. We're going to be in Toronto. So why sometimes do strange things happen after Cogno movement events or sessions, and what are those strange things? So there are many, but the one I want to talk about today is how sometimes after a Cogno movement session or event, a person will go home, and what's not strange is that they feel like a brand new person. They just feel differently. And that's because their energy actually has changed. We've taken out old programs, old stuff that's still running in their neurology that they just don't need anymore and that maybe is unresourceful. We just take those out. And then the strange thing that happens is when they get home, the people around them seem different. Or a person will get a phone call out of the blue from someone who their relationship is not great and hasn't been great for many, many years, 30, 40, 50 years. And they'll get a phone call that says, hey, just want you to know I'm sorry about that, or hey, can we get together, or hey, let's, fix our relationship. So how does that happen? That's a weird thing, right? And with Cogno movement, it's interesting because it really is a technology that we can explain why and how it works. But then there's these other things that seem sort of esoteric and woo-woo, if you want to say, which is fun for some of us, but others of us really need it to be logical and make sense. So I'm going to try to make a little bit of sense of it, and actually it does make perfect sense. So Carmela was saying to me as we were talking about this event and talking about this exact thing, hey, you need to make a video about that, so I'm doing it. Okay. So first of all, we do not ever set out to change someone else. We know we can't do that. We always have to only change ourselves. If we go into any kind of a session, whether it's therapy or NLP or brain remapping or Cogno movement, Cogno Conscious, any of those things, and we go in expecting to change someone else, it won't work. We can't do it. We can change only ourselves and our relationship to them, but that's huge. Because in every relationship we have what's called the calibrated loop. I do this, you do that. Because you do that, I do this. Because I did that, you do this. It goes round and round and round. We all know it. Think about an argument you have with someone who's really close to you, and how many times that argument, you almost say the exact same words, and you end up in the exact same place every time, and it never gets solved. Calibrated loop. Well, the main thing, the number one thing is that in Cogno movement, we delete that loop altogether in your system. So the next time you go back and have that conversation, you're different. You don't have those words anymore. You don't have that attitude anymore. You don't have that perspective anymore. And so when the conversation starts, you're open to an absolutely new possibility. Well, your partner in the conversation may well expect the loop to happen, and it may even be annoying to them that it isn't happening. But now all of a sudden, something else is entirely possible. They see you in a new light, you see them in a new light, and you end up in a different place. So that's one really simple explanation, but it is profound in the way that it works. Here's another that's actually more interesting, I think. So the Heart Math Institute, if you don't know about it, look it up. It's Heart, the word Heart, and Math Institute. They do a lot of amazing scientific studies, and one of the things they found is that each of us has an electromagnetic influence in the radius of our heart. Now think about it, our heart is very electric. If it stops, they give it an electric pulse to start again. It's very electric, and that electricity is measurable. So if you're healthy, They say that about a 6 to 9 foot radius around ourselves, I mean, 9 feet, that's a pretty big radius. We influence people in our vicinity. So if you think about it, lots of times when you come into that close of a radius of someone else, you can kind of feel them. You can kind of tell whether or not you're going to get along or not. And that could be based simply on the way that your heart beats. It's resonance. So sound has a resonance. There's lots of studies done where clocks that are set up in the same room are set to different ways. The clocks with a pendulum, grandfather clocks. And metronomes, same sort of a thing. And with a matter of hours, they start to all move in the same resonance. It's just a law of resonance. Things want to resonate together. You want to kind of harmonize. So it's the same with our resonance in the field of our vicinity, of our heart. So when we come to a Cognomovement seminar or session where our electricity has changed a little, because we're literally deleting programs that drain energy, and that energy floods back into the system in the form of electricity, power, horsepower. So we are now adding to that dynamic resonance around ourselves, creating a bigger field, creating a more influential field. So influence, that's an interesting thing, because if we change our own heart resonance and now it's more powerful and we have more influence, we have the ability to change what's happening around us and also to influence that resonance within those that we're closest to, those that we spend the most amount of time with, which are our family, our spouses, our children, that kind of thing. And also think about this, all the studies that have been done that the people that you hang out with the most, the 5 people that you hang out with the most, your income level equals theirs, your success level equals theirs. It's for that reason. We all tend to want to harmonize. And naturally our electricity, the metronome, the beat of our heart, all of it tends to harmonize. So if we change that, we are now vibrating differently, our heart signal is different, what we're sending out is different, and if we have more influence, then we can shift gently the people that are around us and that want to harmonize with us. Remember, there's always free choice, and we're not trying to change someone else, but it does just kind of happen naturally. So that's really quite interesting. And here's another thing. In NLP, we always teach the person with the most flexibility has the most influence. Once you get in there and start deleting programs, and what I mean by programs is old stories, beliefs, habits, thoughts, and just incidences, tiny or huge, that have kind of gotten lodged in our neurological system and run constantly. And they cost power in our body constantly. So if you have an instance from when you're 5, you may not remember, it may mean nothing to you, but somehow it attached to your body and in a way of shame or in not good enough or less than. Anything that happens after that attaches to that time way back then, a non-incidence in your conscious mind, but a big incidence in your physical body, that's constantly draining power to keep running. And we have thousands of those. I mean, come on, everyday life piles them on all the time. So we can go in with Cognomovement and we can eliminate those. And we bring the power back to the system. The whole system is bigger, better, stronger. You have more flexibility to think from a brand new perspective that doesn't include those old biases, those old beliefs, those old systems. Think about that. If you could let go of all your old systems and start fresh, look at the perspectives you can have. So many of the things that we think we know, right here, logical mind, that we know and believe and are 100% certain are true, maybe our worldview, without some of those energy drains, without some of those things that really are just running without our permission, really, if we can delete those, we could start fresh and we could think about everything in a brand new way. So you would have the most flexibility and now the most influence. So it's another thing that is happening just naturally to our Cognomovement seminar attendees and our private session clients as well, because now they have the ability to have the most fresh point of view and the most influence. He who has the most flexibility has the most influence. So think about that in how when you change yourself, especially your electrical system, you can have influence in your greater group where you have influence. And every person you pass by in that 6 to 9 foot radius, you may have some influence on them. Now, it's interesting, they say if you're a psychopath, you have 30 to 40 feet. So I don't know, or a celebrity. Interesting. That's a totally beside the point. So let's talk about how does it change someone who is maybe thousands of miles away? How does it happen that you walk through the door after a session or a seminar and you get a phone call from somebody who's thousands of miles away and maybe even thousands of years away, right? Like you haven't talked to them in years, you haven't seen them in years, you haven't thought of them in years, but there is something, a problem that happened. How do they change? What's happening there? So it turns out there is a scientific explanation, a possible scientific explanation for that too. Have you heard of the photon double slit study? If you haven't, look it up on YouTube. You can find it everywhere, but it really scientifically shows how they can split a photon and take half 4 miles away and half here and influence this one and create change in this one. Meaning that even across time and distance, there are changes in two things that are related to each other, that are connected, that were once a whole. So consider that about our children, about our parents, about our whole line of relatives even. And then consider that on how we're constantly influencing each other in our groups, even our friend groups, school groups, how we become part of one another. That even at a distance, when we change so dramatically in our electromagnetic, our neurology, our brain, our field, that it can influence someone who's thousands of miles or even years away. Now, I know that's not legitimate scientific explanation, but it's one way that it could be possible. And even Einstein said, he called it spooky action at a distance because he couldn't explain how or why it was happening. What we know is that it is happening. And it doesn't happen to every person, but it happens to a significant amount that now we've come to sort of expect it from our clients and from our seminar attendees, that somebody's going to go home and say, you're never going to believe this. I got a call from so-and-so, and we made up a whole relationship that's been terrible for years. It's incredible that it happens, but it's also fantastic. We love hearing those stories just because they mean it's a magical amount of healing for the person who experiences it and that person that is thousands of miles away. So that's all I have to say on the subject for today. It's a lot, but I'd love to hear your questions about this, and I would love to hear your stories too, whether they're cognomovement related or some other modality related, that when you return home after a change for yourself, that someone else has changed too. It's an interesting topic. I think there's lots more exploring that can be done around it. So guys, there's lots coming up for Cognomovement. If you're in the San Diego area on March 7th and 8th, there is a Cogno Conscious Weekend with Phil McKenna in the amazing Mission Bay, San Diego, which is so, so beautiful. We also have Cognomovement Practitioner 2 training. So you already have to be a Cognomovement Practitioner 1 to attend that, but it's going to be amazing too. People are already very changed who are Cognomovement practitioners, but this is going to take that to the very next level, and we'll have the most cutting edge Cognomovement techniques. Those are coming daily. It's getting faster. It's getting more powerful. So attend that if you're eligible. If you'd like to know about Cognomovement Practitioner 1, please contact us, and we'll fill you in about when the next seminar is going to be for that. We have 2 Cognomovement one-day events coming. And this is new for us. It's just a one-day event. There's nothing that a person has to do except for show up. And they can learn about how to use Cognomovement for themselves, solo sessions for their kids, for their family, for their friends, just starting out with clients if you're a practitioner of something else already. And so there's just no obligation there. You just come and learn it and use it for yourself and create amazing changes during that day as well, because you'll be guided by practitioners. So one is in Oregon on April 5th, and one is in Toronto on May 29th, Toronto, Canada, Barrie, actually near Toronto. There is a Cogno Conscious that is happening, like I said, March 7th and 8th in beautiful sunny San Diego. And then another that is scheduled for Toronto just following that one-day event. So it's the 30th and 31st. And that can be a whole 3-day event. The 29th, 30th, and 31st is the event with the possibility of just coming to the first day if you wish. So events are being added all the time. Please check out cognomovement.com for events with Bill McKenna and with myself and with other Cogno Movement practitioners. And join up and see if you can make some change for yourself. You can use it by yourself and you can use it with clients. You can use it in groups. It is now in schools as well. So with fantastic results. So I could talk about it all day, guys, but I really just wanted to talk about the spooky action at a distance and a funny thing that happened on the way to the forum or after a Cogno Movement session. So I'm Liz Larson with Transform One Idea and Cognomovement.com. Please reach out to me at transform and the word one idea at gmail.com. You can reach our founder, Bill McKenna, at billmckennaevents@gmail.com. And you can find all of us at cognomovement.com. We'll talk soon. Bye, guys.